On this week's show, we're discussing the next lineup of gaming hardware and when to expect it, Xbox teaming up with Nvidia for cloud gaming, and has Halo really just been cancelled? All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, a weekly podcast where we round up all of the week's video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. Your podcast players for the week are myself, Chris, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
I'm very hot right now. It's also very warm in here.
That's the thing, Richie. We can stop complaining about the football now and pivot into complaining about the temperature.
It's too hot.
Last
week was too cold and great. This week is too hot.
It's our right as British citizens that we can complain about the weather in all states. Hot, cold, middle, humid, dry, whatever it is, we will complain about it. And
See, what people don't realise is the British national pastime isn't football. It's complaining. This is why we like football, because we're not as good as we should be at it.
Absolutely. We can be cynical, we can be sarcastic, and we can damn right complain about the weather.
It's why we continue to live here as well, because the weather is never what you want it to be. It's never quite right.
Which is what a great state of existence to live in. But obviously we lament the football. We won't talk about it. We've covered it enough on the last couple of weeks, but could have done better. But that's in the past now, Richie. We now look forward to the Premier League kicking off again, transfer windows, everything like that. It's a mere weeks away. League. Well, we can suffer disappointment on every front, can't we? But where we won't suffer disappointment, of course, is with you wonderful folks, the fantastic audience out there who've tuned in for this week's show. And as I said, we do have a great show lined up. But before we do get into all that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you're kept in the loop with all the amazing content we do here on the channel, like this very show and our weekly live streams, where this past week I dove back into Space Marine. Or I always forget, it's Warhammer 40k Space Marine.
Yes,
do you say 40k or 40,000? What's your approach?
40k.
I feel like
40K.
They're interchangeable, but 40k seems to be the more prominent
40k,
one.
it rolls
shorter.
off the tongue a bit better.
It's shorter as well. 40,000 is that's the millennium they're in, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's so far in the future. But yeah, really enjoying it. There was a massive twist in this week's episode. If you've not checked it out, I actually totally forgot from playing it 13 years ago. I completely forgot this happened, but there's a new characters show up, and it was like, oh shit, I forgot about this, and it was like a pleasant surprise, but like a nice happy twist. So go check that one out. That's part 3, so there's probably maybe one more big stream left in it potentially. So again, our members will get that early, but we do have a special stream planned for this week to tie in with Deadpool and Wolverine. So if you're a fan of the guy in red or the guy in yellow, then tune in this week for a special retro live stream of Deadpool on the PlayStation 3. And it's extra special because you can't buy it on digital storefronts, unfortunately. It's one of these where I will stand by physical media because, you need to just get yourself and get a physical copy. It's not backwards compatible through digital storefronts because it's just not available. It was pulled along with all of the other Marvel titles from the Activision days. And it's a really fun game. And care to hazard a guess as to who voices Deadpool, Richie?
It's not going to be Ryan Reynolds.
No, it's definitely not. No, it's long before his time.
I'm going to go with Troy Baker.
So close. It's Nolan North. Nolan North, of course, because that was the
He was
era.
only one of the two.
That was the era in which he voiced anyone and everything. If you need a lamppost that needs a voice, Nolan North's your man. But he does really good with like the wise. You can imagine like Nathan Drake will turn up like the wisecracking joke nature a little bit more, and he reads his lines really, really well. But it's a super fun game. I have finished it. I think I tried going for the Platinum originally on the PS4 release, but it was just like too tedious with playthroughs or something. I can't remember why I never went for it, but I got close. It's something to do with the score combo. I think one of those ones where it's like you need to get like 100,000, and to get it you need to hit multiplies, and it was just a thing. But maybe I'll do it on stream.
Weird arcade mechanics in there.
Absolutely. Maybe I'll do it on stream. But before we get into the thick of the show, of course, we do have a merchandise store. There's often sales on stuff. You're sat out there in the sweltering heat thinking, damn, I'm warm. Why not head over to our GamerGuild merch store and get yourself a nice sports shirt, nice breathable material, and I run around playing footy. So it's definitely a testament to how sporty and breathable it is. Because I'm wearing a normal t-shirt right now, and it ain't helping me at all. I can feel the sweat building on me. So any audio listeners out there, just visualize the sweaty drips dripping down Richie's forehead right now.
I didn't know where you were going for that.
That's
forearm.
For something else. That's not what this type of podcast is. Richie, before we get into the news, because it is quite a slow week, it's quite kind of like slow out there in the whole video game world. There's no releases, there's no news going on. I feel like since July the 4th, all the news kind of stateside took off Independence Day. Nothing's really happened since in the world of gaming. A lot has happened in the world, in real politics and stuff, but yeah. What you've been playing at the moment?
So, well, as people know, Discord will know, I have bought myself a Amazon Fire Stick 4K Max.
Ooh.
Because I've always said, when we talked back in the day with the Xcast, we were talking about like Project Keystone and going, oh, that would be awesome to have like a streaming stick for my TV downstairs. So I've got my Xbox up here. It just would be a useful thing. Well, the Amazon Fire Stick does that now.
There we go.
Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to use it because of literally hours worth of updates today. When I got right, go home from work, right, let's get it set up. And it's been updating for about at least 2 hours before I stopped paying attention to it. Because I got to the point where I no longer have time to play anything before the podcast.
Right.
So on next week's show, I will probably talk about it.
Yeah, it's.
I do have it. I'm working on it.
I take it you picked it up on Prime Day.
Yeah, I picked it up on Prime Day. So when I changed my internet away from Virgin Media because they're terrible, a few months back, I got a £90 gift voucher as part of it.
Okay.
So the Fire Stick 4K Max plus Zelda Echoes of Wisdom came to $89.98. Like done.
Nice. Sold.
Because I was on the fence and then I remembered about that voucher, and then I went to put that and Zelda in my basket. Like, oh, perfect. This is done. Just
nice and easy. Yeah, I toyed with the idea.
I think long term I'll end up at my girlfriend's.
Because she'll steal it.
Because then I can, well, not I intend to just take it around, because at the moment when I'm around hers, unless I'm using my keychain on my phone, which sucks, I don't really have a place to play Xbox. If I take around hers, now we both have access to my entire Xbox library.
It's also part of your tactical slowly moving yourself in.
Yeah, maybe.
Win-win. Yeah, I toy with the idea. I was away with work this week, and out of nowhere, I actually had two of my colleagues talking about Amazon Luna, of all things. Because one of my colleagues, he's a little bit older than me. I think he's got 2 children. He was inquiring about getting one for, I presume, like their lounge room or their spare room. And he said he doesn't have a means of, like, he doesn't want to buy any of the console or anything. And he'd said it was just as we were heading into the Amazon Prime 2-day sale. And he said, like, what's with the Fire Sticks? And he was showing me on his phone, is it better to get the 4K one or the regular? And I was like, well, what TV have you got? Got a 4K one. You might as well go all in on the 4K then, for the sake of the, £15 difference or whatever it was. Yeah,
so to get Game Pass, Xbox Cloud Gaming on it, you have to have the 4K or the 4K Max from 2023 or upwards.
Yeah, I did specify to him. I said that you need the most recent model, and I said if you've got a 4K TV, you're always better to go above and beyond rather than get the lesser one and then regret it later on.
Yeah,
for the sake of
to clarify that for listeners. There's only 2 models you can get. I think the price difference is only about £15 between the two. So I went from as I said in the Discord as well, I went for the Max for 2 reasons. One, it technically has better processing and better connectivity, which for cloud gaming might come into play. It could be redundant. And the other reason is it literally would have meant, because I was using a gift voucher to buy it, it meant a lot. That £15 just would have disappeared if I didn't. So I would have to find other stuff to bring up the price, so I might as well. So it was an easy decision for me.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. I was talking to him about like the benefits of. I was proper selling him you think I work for Amazon at that rate, because saying about the direct Wi-Fi will be better for the player because it's direct to Luna's system, and you can use any Bluetooth one, even Stadia one if you wish to, via the Fire Stick. And just an interesting conversation out of nowhere where my knowledge of this kind of stuff came into play quite well. But yeah, obviously, I'm sure a couple of people I know a couple of people in our Discord server got one. They were discussing the latency, the kind of functionality of it all, and I'm sure you'll give us your breakdown on next week's show. But yeah, it's nice to see cloud gaming get a bit of a boost, and we've got some news topics in this week's doc that actually kind of links in with that. So we'll head over and get into it. Before we do though, Richie, what have you been playing?
So I've been working through Uncharted 3.
Did you finish 2?
Yeah, I finished 2. But I already had the platinum on 2, so I just played through the story. With Uncharted 3, I did something stupid. I was playing through the game just on crushing straight away. Mm-hmm. I was doing collectibles while I was doing the crushing playthrough. But there was one level, one level I got to where, you know, when you get captured by the pirates.
Yar.
Before you get in the sinking ship.
Yeah.
That kind of open area with jumping from little boats and stuff. Mm-hmm. You can grind out so many trophies in that area.
Oh, yeah.
So I was trying to do that, and there was one fight where I made a mistake because I forgot Uncharted saves oversaves with your manual saves.
Oh, okay.
So I dropped the difficulty to easy to grind out the number of weapon kills for one weapon. Mm-hmm. And then I accidentally oversaved it.
So, yeah.
And then the crushing playthrough has to be continuous without changing. So it's not just completing every level on crushing. So I need to start a crushing playthrough again.
How far? I guess the boat's not too far in, at least.
It oversaved my save, though. It's gone.
No, but
I have to start again.
Yeah, but I mean, you weren't that far into the game. Like, you haven't threw away 2/3 of the game.
I played another 8 levels before I realised that.
Yeah, oof. Okay, maybe.
Because I completed that fight, then I switched it back to crushing. So I knew that level wasn't ticked on crushing. I didn't realise the trophy was without changing.
Oh dear. Well, we've all been there. We've all done that. I actually had it. So when I've been playing, I've got 2 trophies left for the Sly Cooper one that I'm working on. And one of them's time trials. And I started doing the time trials and then never had it so far. But, you know, when the game just auto crashes. And then it auto crashed. And I realised when I came back to, when I turned it back on, I realised I hadn't saved it in 3 hours. Or something, so I was like, oh no. But I'd only done one time trial, thankfully, so I'd got all the trophies for finishing the story, collecting up all the safes in the zone, so I'd got the trophies, so I lost all the progress in game, but thankfully the only trophy left to get was time trials, which you can do at any point. But you know that moment of panic where you look and go, oh shit, I haven't saved this in I've had it in rest mode for several days this week now, and I haven't actually saved it. And it was like, oh dear.
So, on Uncharted 3, when you mentioned time trials, there's only... There's 3 trophies that I need. There's 3 speedrun trophies for different levels. I need them 3, and then my crushing playthrough, and then it's platinum. Nice. And that'll be platinums in 1, 2, and 3.
Nice.
So I'm getting there.
Sounds good. I need to get back to Uncharted at some point. I mean, I intend to do it on the channel, so I'm gonna time it for that. They're like my Lord of the Rings, where I go back to them every year. I go back to Lord of the Rings every Christmas. I go back to Uncharted pretty much every year. My wife usually wants to play them every now and again for the story. So I was half tempted.
I was actually half tempted to record 2 when I started the story for that, for the channel. But I thought, I know you want to do it. That's why I didn't, because I genuinely was considering it. Yeah. You know what? I know Chris wants to do it, so I'll leave it for you because you're the bigger Uncharted. I mean, I love Uncharted, but you are a huge fan.
It's my favourite franchise of all time.
I need to debate whether I do 4 next because I haven't got the platinum on that.
Ooh, oh yeah, I mean there you go. That does it for you. I have them all several times over, so so, can't wait for that one.
As it stands, I have the platinums in 1, 2, and Lost Legacy.
You'll have to.
I will soon. By the time this goes out, I'll probably have 3.
You'll have to borrow one of my Vitas, log in, and get Golden Abyss on the move.
Maybe. Sony, if you're listening, just part up Golden Abyss.
I think we're ripe for some Uncharted news. It's got to be 2016 was Lost Legacy. It's been 8 years, so come on, Sony.
Yeah, do a remaster of Golden Abyss for the PS5. Doesn't have weird touch controls. So
do something. Interesting fact about Uncharted 3, by the way. It released on one of the coolest dates you could possibly get, which is 1/11/11.
That's cool.
1/1/1/1/1/1.
13 years ago.
Yep. Make you feel old. Right, Richie. So as I said, Sly Cooper, I've been playing that. I'll probably have the platinum by the time the show goes live, because it is the weekend. As we said, in regards to live streams and stuff, folks, we probably will get back to some cadence of like our weekly playthroughs of series. So we've got obviously Gears 2 lined up, inevitably Halo 3 at some point. We've got Halo in the news this week, Uncharted, and then other things as we head towards the back end of the year, and obviously the game releases start to come out thick and fast. We'll probably have a couple of first looks and some more, but all that being said and done, Richie, if you could do us the honours of introducing us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka
the news.
The news.
Don't know why I jumped in there. Apologies.
Yeah. I was going for a really long pregnant pause. You ruined it.
It's probably, as you said it before, when we went recording live, because I haven't hosted or edited for 2 weeks in a row because of scheduling. Yeah. I'm kind of like out the loop, and I'm used to saying that bit. I'm not used to doing the intro. And it's interesting how just 1 week out and you completely miss it. But as I said, interesting week for news. Not so much game news, more kind of just the industry goings on. No layoffs, thankfully. Actually, there was layoffs this week, but it's not in our news stock. I forgot which studio it was at. I was at NetherRealm, I think. Mortal Kombat guys. So shout out to those folks. Hopefully they find their position. But I kind of wanted to do a little touch in before we got into the thick of the news, and just kind of like touch and base with where we think next gen consoles are. So we've got rumours of the Switch 2. We've got an Xbox refresh. There's big rumours of a PS5 Pro. And inevitably there's a Steam Deck 2, which Steam Valve have confirmed. They said, I think when they brought out the Steam Deck OLED, they did confirm like that wasn't the Steam Deck 2. There is one that will be coming further down the line. Obviously the Steam Deck's not too old yet, so it's probably got a little bit of juice left in the tank. But I just wanted to touch in as we kind of tick past the halfway point of the year into the back end of the year. And as we start working up towards that kind of golden quarter for sales and stuff in the industry and retail and Christmas, where your vibe check is for these things. I'd love our audience to let us know in the comments below, like when do you think these consoles are going to come out? Because there's kind of mixed impressions across the board from everybody. So
I'm going to touch on the Steam Deck first, because Steam Deck is it's not console gaming, it's PC gaming. So while the Valve are kind of talking about as a Steam Deck 2, there's nothing to say that the Steam Deck 1 couldn't still be on the market at the same time, because PC gaming is less discrete in terms of its generational shifts. It's more of a continuous improvement. You tend to see a generational shift in PC games because of the console games. So I think Steam Deck 2 could coexist with Steam Deck 1. So that could be anywhere from next year to 3 or 4 years down the line. Yeah. And I don't think it necessarily needs to be in sync with the consoles. Steam might be wanting to target that, though. They might be wanting to target the console refresh, so they make sure they're upgrading the hardware so the next generation of console games are compatible. But it's hard to say with that. I think Switch 2 is Q1 next year. Either Q1 or start of Q2. So probably January to March, I'm thinking.
Yeah, with the touch on the Steam Deck and obviously the Switch being a big handheld as well, I think both you and me and probably a lot of our audience would default to the Switch 2 over the Steam Deck. Just if you had to pick between one of them and they were kind of like £100 aside, even though I would definitely get more use out of the Steam Deck because of the PC element and it has a wider library that's more akin to my taste, I do feel like the complete package of the Nintendo Switch, it all just been built in, Nintendo seal of approval for quality assurance. I think I would probably opt for that over it.
Yeah, theoretically, the Steam Deck 2 is definitely probably the better option. However, for me, a Steam Deck would literally just be an Xbox console on the go, really, at this point, because my Steam library is now quite dated. I haven't bought any new game on PC in quite a while, because I largely switched back over to console. Mm-hmm. I have a PlayStation Portal to cover PlayStation games, so it's only really my Xbox library that it would be useful for, which is why when there was rumours about an Xbox handheld, I was interested. I don't necessarily need the power of a Steam Deck. I'm happy to do the on-the-go stuff via cloud gaming.
Yeah, I think I sit in the same camp with that one.
So I'm actually more, for them reasons, more interested in the Switch 2 because of the Nintendo first-party stuff.
Yeah, and I think we're both on the same page where we presume it has to be backwards compatible. I think video game consoles going from this generation forward have to take that old library with it.
Yeah, but it's Nintendo. I don't trust Nintendo. Like, the decision I would like to see from the Switch 2 is take the Switch, rip out the innards, make them every single component better and up to modern standards. I'd say at least on par with like a PlayStation 4 Pro. And then make it compatible with, give it a 1080p screen on device. And a lot of people might say it needs OLED. I think you can do without if you want to keep the cost down, because you can always bring out a premium model laser with OLED. Ideally, have it compatible with current Joy-Cons and the current docks, but they didn't even do that with the Switch Lite, so I don't trust them to do it. Which I still think is a big miss. The Switch Lite should have been compatible with the original Switch dock and with the Joy-Cons, even if the Joy-Cons that came with the Switch Lite were a bit more simplistic in their design.
Yeah,
it should still be detachable, and you should still be able to put your other ones on.
We also need to factor in that because it is Nintendo, there is every possibility that they just
it has 4 screens.
They just totally pivot and I mean, we went from the GameCube to the Wii, which was a pivot, and then we went to a Wii U with a touchpad, and then to all in on handheld with the Switch. So you'd like to think they look at the success of the Switch and go, we just need to iterate on this. That's all we need to do because it's done so well. Yeah. But then at the same time, Nintendo, being Nintendo, could just pivot and go, no, it's just we're going back to a home console and a handheld, and split the whole division up again and have a Switch division and a console division. And you think, why?
That's one thing I don't think we'll ever see them do, because Nintendo had such lucrative handheld consoles in the past.
Mm-hmm.
The combination of their handheld and the home console, it just worked. You can see the ideas in the Wii U. Obviously, I think that failed more on branding than anything else, to be honest.
Yeah.
But you can see the idea. The Switch is what the Wii U should have been.
Yeah.
And now people can play it with, and now they can kind of look at the new Zelda game. The new Zelda game would have been on a Game Boy Advance or Game Boy DS or something in the past, that style. However, now this is a home console, new mainline Zelda release.
Yeah, they seem to.
So they've kind of found the cake, and they're eating the cake, and they still have the cake with the dual thing. So I can't see them going away from that. Whatever the new console is, I think will still be portable in the same way the Switch is.
I hope it is, because the hybrid thing has done them so well, and I think you and me adapt quite well to the. I love the portability. In fact, I play my Switch purely portable, pretty much.
I almost exclusively play it when I'm not on stream. If I'm playing a game on Switch, it's almost always in handheld. See, I think Nintendo probably know that about their customers, and I think it kind of suits Nintendo's game design mantra, where it's like fun first, quality second. When I say quality, I don't mean in terms of the overall quality of the finished product in terms of bugs and stuff. I mean in terms of what's the resolution like, is it got the most up-to-date graphics, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of graphics, though, then putting Xbox and PlayStation 5 Pro together, my take on it is they're both out by this Christmas. I think we see the Xbox October, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see the PS5 Pro revealed at some point, maybe at the end of September, maybe Gamescom, in fact. It just seems that we're in that point of the generation where like a 0.5 upgrade, it was the cadence of last gen, so there's no reason why they wouldn't just follow suit again. Unlike Nintendo, the other two big players tend to follow the same cycles every generation. Yeah. And I think, even though I don't feel personally like they need them, I think from a marketing standpoint, we've seen it with other tech industries. You need that iteration to keep people on their toes. That's why Samsung and Apple put out a phone every single year. It's not necessarily to get the sales, because people will buy them anyway. It is for that marketing cycle. You need people being aware of your products and that there's something new pushing you towards it. It's a weird psychological trick where if they didn't put something out, it would lessen the brand almost.
It's because they get to advertise a new piece of hardware every single year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it keeps you at the forefront of the new cycle, people's minds, when other people in maybe your family do like an upgrade. Whereas gaming, it has a little bit of a longer tail by nature of what it is. But I do think there is a time where, like, how old's PS5 and Xbox now? 5 odd years coming up. So we're almost hitting a half a decade point where actually people who have a PS4 still or an Xbox One, they are probably starting to see them age a little bit, and they're like, right, what do I get now?
To be honest, I think it's overall been a fairly weak console generation this far compared to the previous one. Because if you're saying we are about 5 years in, what sort of games did we have on the PS4 at this point 5 years in? The amount of like quality games I think was higher than we've got for the PS5 in terms of first party at least. So I think this is going to be a longer console generation, which might be why
it's better for our wallets.
Xbox, I think Xbox need it more than PlayStation.
Yeah, they need the restart button.
Before the Portal, I might have went the other way because with VR being a flop, they might have wanted to get a new console out to kind of soften the blow a bit. But the Portal's done really well for them. And PS5 so they have this new shiny toy to still market at the moment. So I could see them pushing PS5 maybe to next year. If they want to make sure they've got ramping up the production.
Yeah.
Xbox is in a weird place because I don't think they need to replace. I mean, they've already announced newer versions of their Series S and X, but in terms of a Xbox Pro, I don't know if they need it. I think Xbox almost need a new generation to get away from the S, because we've seen lots of reports about the S almost holding them back. So they almost need a new discrete generation, which I know Microsoft aren't really into the discrete generation thing, to jettison the Series S.
Yeah.
So they can they can have the excuse to stop supporting it.
Yeah. I think we'll see the refresh this year.
They're in an uncomfortable place because the S is a good value proposition, but does feel like it's actually holding the generation back a bit.
And then the marketing as well. Like, we know now they've got Call of Duty on board and a bunch of other things have been kind of like going more in their favour. I think a start of a new generation, they'll want to start it sooner rather than later. But I think, this year's too soon. So I think get out these new iterations, see out maybe another year, see what the Switch 2 are doing. And I think they'll definitely go ahead of PlayStation this time around. Like, maybe even by a whole year.
To be fair, a Christmas push for Series X Pro alongside the newest Call of Duty, advertise it as the best place to play Call of Duty because they'll have the most powerful console on the market. Could be a good move for them to kind of claw back a bit of the mind share. Well, and you get it day one with Game Pass, don't you?
Well, we know the three they announced at the showcase. They're not. It's just more memory storage. That's all it is. It's the new one. So I don't think we'll be getting a Pro, like an improved model, anytime. And I think Phil Spencer's confirmed like they're not looking at a mid-gen upgrade. So I do think their next tick box will be starting the next gen early and going early so they can get a front foot.
I'd say PS5 Pro next September maybe, kind of. Not right on Christmas, because I think they like to have a few months in front of Christmas. I can see Switch 2. Depends which year they want it, which financial year they want it in. I would say March, but if they're happy with the numbers for this financial year, I can see them pushing it to April to push it into the next. It depends on when Nintendo's bookkeeping.
Yeah.
So maybe March, April. Because then they get the double dip. They get the early year push when the console comes out largely uncontested with anything else. A few months after the Christmas financial hangover, so people have got a couple of quid back in the bank, and then they get to go again at the end of the year for Christmas, and then you can get 2 AAA first party launches.
Yeah,
add in potentially things like a Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom remaster kind of thing. To make a strong first year for it.
Yeah, I could see them doing
I think they could be well positioned. Yeah, start with Mario Kart. Just come out the gate with Mario Kart.
Yeah, they'd do great. I think my cadence is similar. I'd expect Xbox refresh this October. PlayStation 5 Pro not too far behind it. Maybe late October, maybe right at the beginning of November, like 2nd or 3rd. And then I think Switch probably next April, May, as you said, after the financial year. Gives them a bit of tarmac leading up to Christmas, so they get like a good couple of months run at it. And like I said, if it comes out with a Mario Kart, everyone will buy it anyway. So yeah, next gen console watch, just keeping our feelers out there, seeing what the rumours are, going off what we know. And in the meantime, though, while we wait for new consoles, there's plenty of stuff happening in the world of cloud gaming, thankfully. And we got an announcement this week that Microsoft have fully integrated NVIDIA's GeForce Now into its Xbox game pages. So we know Microsoft and NVIDIA have had a partnership for quite some time. Basically means that when you look to playing a game via Xbox Cloud Gaming, it will give you the prompt to select NVIDIA GeForce Now to essentially power the service on your computer.
Which is an interesting move.
It is, and it's such an odd one with cloud gaming because kind of since the death of Google Stadia and then the FTC rulings that have came out regarding cloud gaming, and we know the Activision Blizzard King thing has led to like Ubisoft having stewardship over certain Xbox titles, and it's a whole kind of hornet's nest of just like mess when it comes to it. But at the same time, they've been playing nicer together than they ever have before. And especially Xbox, like they've just gone on all platforms, smart TVs, Amazon Firestick this past week is huge. That's Microsoft putting their stuff on an Amazon product, Amazon letting them. Whereas could you imagine that happening when it was Chromecast and Firestick going toe to toe with Luna and Stadia? I don't think that would have ever happened. But kind of think since the downfall of one of the big players and the FTC scrutinising cloud gaming. Remember the reason it got knocked back in the UK. Our CMA said it was cloud gaming.
Yeah.
So it's like it seems to be that linchpin that's holding all of these deals together, and I think they're all just kind of like, right, if we stay quiet, we'll play their game, it'll bode well for all of us. And I think NVIDIA have always just sat back and went, well, we're happy to have anything. Just give us anything. And it seems to be working.
Microsoft seem to be in a weird transitional phase where I don't think they quite know what to do with Xbox at the moment. I've said for a long time, I think Microsoft sees their future away from the hardware market and more in the cloud, which is because of all the traditional console manufacturers, they are still the ones pushing cloud gaming the most. It's the most integrated into what they're doing. However, I think in terms of quality, they've fallen behind PlayStation. And right now, in terms of cloud gaming, NVIDIA are kings. Luna don't have the content. Google are dead. NVIDIA effectively won this generation of cloud gaming.
I mean, they're now the richest company in the world, right?
Yeah.
The pipped, was it Apple that pipped on the stock exchange the other week? I'm sure there was like a news article saying NVIDIA suddenly pipped number one based on some chips or something. I can't remember.
You know, this isn't another case of a company having the cake and eating it too, because in order to play these games and GeForce Now, you either have to buy the game from Xbox or you have to have Game Pass, in which case Microsoft's got your money, and if you want to play on GeForce Now, so be it, you have to pay another subscription to NVIDIA. So it's effectively Microsoft now opening up their catalogue to play gamers like GeForce Now players, which is probably more likely entice people who have GeForce Now to buy games on Xbox games from the Microsoft Store or Game Pass.
Yeah, and what's
I think it's probably a smart move when you think about it in them terms.
Yeah.
Rather than seeing it like competing with NVIDIA, it's like, oh, we can just sell your customers our stuff as well.
Yeah, it's like kind of having the store and getting them to pay rent on it as well as the rates. But NVIDIA GeForce Now, we know it's essentially it's the most impressive cloud gaming element out there. They use their RTX 4080s, like their top paid tier is hands down the best, and it's no surprise it's got the best server blades running in the background. But in terms of the conversation it's stimulating, it's been really interesting because a lot of the podcasts I listen to, all of a sudden they've been doing entire shows dedicated to Xbox cloud gaming based off the back of the Amazon Firestick news. And then this news as well from NVIDIA. So it's stimulating conversation. And what's kind of the biggest kick while we're down of all those conversations? They always come back and say Stadia had the best like-for-like console performance. So many influencers out there I've heard this past week say Google had it the best. They obviously just let themselves down everywhere else. And then kind of NVIDIA's kind of stepped in and took that mantle. And they probably were always going to, because Google never seemed to really invest much in the server blades other than outside of launch. And we keep waiting for Xbox to up their ante. We know they're running on Series X servers now. but seemingly that doesn't perform as well as a 4080 Ti. Yeah.
Nvidia have been very, very smart. Where Google went, we're making our own ecosystem. You basically have to chuck away your current gaming library to start from fresh. Nvidia went, you know what? We can probably almost match you, if not surpass you, in terms of the quality of the streaming. I think Google's strength was in the quality of the streaming. Nvidia's strength is in the quality of the game rendering, because they've got more power, which means they've got more headroom to lose. Yeah. I think that's probably their approach, where Google's probably being a lot more savvy in terms of how do we get this running with lower quality hardware, but with less loss of quality. But Nvidia went, oh, you want to use your Steam library? Crack on, go for it. Yeah. Epic Game Library, go on. Basically, play the games that you want to play. Just use our service.
Yeah.
So you're into PC gaming, don't want to spend £1,000 to £2,000 in a gaming PC. Just give us a couple of quid a month.
Yeah.
So it's like that. I think that's why they've effectively won, because a lot of people, as we always bemoaned, one of the downfalls of Stadia was content. They struggle to get content, and because they struggle to get content, they struggle to get players, and because they struggle to get players, they struggle to get content. And it was a vicious cycle. It's what's happening in Luna at the moment. They just can't seem to get in front of it.
No.
Well, Luna, Amazon seem to have accepted it more.
Yeah, and we've seen how they've adapted the storefront, but it's interesting to see, and it's in a way it's similar to, remember when the penny dropped and everyone started doing crossplay support?
Yeah.
With friends list. It kind of seems like that thing, because we know these guys aren't any strangers to working together. They struck a 10-year deal a couple of years ago to license Xbox PC games to GeForce Now, because you remember some games used to go live and then they get pulled within like a week because of licensing or something, and everyone was a bit confused as to what was going on there. And then they struck a 10-year deal with it to mean like Activision Blizzard titles, Microsoft titles could go on GeForce Now. And then because of the FTC stuff, that kind of meant they had to work, like they were forced to work in partnership, so they might as well get on it. And I think during the FTC trial, Phil Spencer and Xbox were tweeting out constantly saying like, we've made a deal. Remember they made a deal with Nintendo? At one point, he tweeted out saying we've made a deal with Nintendo for Call of Duty and stuff, which I'm interested to see how that bears fruit in the years to come. But overall,
that's got to be a Switch 2 thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I think we'll see.
It might be one of them deals in principles. In principle, we're willing to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo platforms as long as the hardware can run it.
I think Switch 2 will have Game Pass, like some kind of Xbox Cloud Game Pass integration.
That would be a huge get for Nintendo.
How else are they going to get Call of Duty? The latest Call of Duty, Richie, is 130 gig. How are you going to get that on a Switch 2?
I don't know. Nintendo could. Yeah, it could be cloud. Or Nintendo could actually put a hard drive in the bloody thing.
That costs money, though.
Yeah, an SSD. SSDs aren't that expensive nowadays.
Nintendo seem to find a way to keep things their own way. I
think that if Xbox did that, put cloud gaming on Nintendo platforms, that could be... They could be walking towards the end of Xbox.
Yeah, I mean...
as a console.
But then would yours and my Switch 2 would inevitably become our Xbox, like it would be our gateway to probably Game Pass.
Yeah.
Because if it works in a handheld form that I can also stream to my TV when it's docked, and I'm getting Starfield, Indiana Jones stuff, it's like, I'll quite happily still pay for Game Pass. You'll miss out on me buying a console every couple of years, but I'm appeased by the form factor of probably what it's going to be the excellent Switch 2. So it's an interesting
theoretically, one. If Xbox 2 are like, we're not really paying attention to console generations as they've claimed before anymore, so you're not going to get these discrete shifts, and the Switch 2 can play effectively Xbox first-party titles and Game Pass through the cloud, I don't know if I'd buy another Xbox in that situation. Even if it was a slightly reduced quality and performance on the Switch 2, as long as it was good enough, I think I'd save more money on the third console. Because my preference has always been Nintendo and Sony because of the quality of the first-party offerings. So Xbox is effectively my third console. So if I can get the Xbox games I want on Switch, I don't need that third console.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting situation that could happen.
It is. As a slight sidebar to this story as well, another news story from this week is the FTC have apparently slammed Microsoft Xbox's new Game Pass tier changes, calling it a degraded product. So, and then to further quote, this is exactly the sort of consumer harm from the merger the FTC had alleged during the court cases. So I know we covered it on last week's news, the different tiers and day one games leaving and the price going up. And you can totally see from a legal standpoint why the FTC would be like, this is exactly what we want. You have a monopoly on the games, you have a monopoly on the cloud side of things, and then less than half a year later, prices go up for a second time within 12 months, and now you're tweaking the tiers so you don't get, as a consumer, you don't quite get what's included in one of them. I think the FTC are well within their right to do it, but obviously they're just doing what they think is right. But it is a big ironic game of like fucking business.
I'm sure Microsoft has spent a lot of time looking at the comments and the legalities of it and concluded, well, this might piss off the FTC. They can't probably do anything about it apart from shout about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of crappy of Microsoft a bit. You've made this expensive purchase, and this sort of move is clearly to pass some of that on to your customers.
Yeah. It is one of them things where now it's gone through, there's no going back. Like, is there realistically? There's no way the FTC have the power or the funds to fight Microsoft to get this the big hit reversed. So it's just a kind of
they own it. It's all signed off. They can maybe challenge the Game Pass model changes, but they'd have to come up with something probably more concrete than going, we warned people about this.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't listen.
You know what all it'll be? It'll be a fine.
Microsoft, to a certain degree, are in their right to set the value of their service and to change it.
Absolutely. Consumerism. That's how it works. Well, if there's a demand and people want to pay it, then yeah. I think the FTC and probably in the UK similarly, the CMA, the European Regulations Committee, it'll just be a fine for Microsoft. It'll be like, $50 million fine. They'll bite the bullet and they'll crack on.
And Microsoft can point to a million different things as reasons why they've had to do another price increase. They can point to things like cost of living, or actually the cost of living crisis across the globe has meant that in order to stay competitive, we've had to increase the wages of all our staff. So in order to stay profitable, we've had to increase the cost of the service.
Yeah, and it's
bollocks. It's an excuse.
Yeah,
like because they could easily eat that cost.
Mm-hmm.
But then they've got shareholders.
Yeah,
and at least in America, the law is you have to prioritize the needs of your shareholders over the needs of your customers. Yeah. So there you go. Like,
yeah, but you can completely see from the FTC, they're like stood just like, you know, what's the meme of is it the big white cat thing that's just sat in the chair going, like, this is what I was talking about. Because the quotes there say product degradation, removing the most valuable games from Microsoft's new service, combined with a price increase for existing users, exactly the sort of consumer harm the merger had alleged. Microsoft's price increases and product degradation, combined with a reduction in investments in output and product quality via employee layoffs, are the hallmarks of a firm exercising market power post-merger.
And I'm just kind of playing a bit of devil's advocate here. Microsoft can always point out to their low end tier and go, that is now significantly better value for money than it used to be.
Yeah,
because they got rid of Games of Gold, and now they've got Game Pass Core, which is an improvement for roughly the same cost. Yeah. I think it is slightly more, but so you can point to the low end, go, there's more value for money at the low end than there used to be. Yeah. Yes, the upper end has got less value for money, but
the only ones who are the real winners are the lawyers. Remember earlier in the year, the FTC also claimed that the layoffs across Microsoft went against everything they said about Activision remaining structurally independent, because then they sacked loads of people.
But if Activision's board and decided that themselves.
Well, this is the Microsoft response. In continuing its opposition to the deal, the FTC ignores the reality that the deal itself has substantially changed. It's literally just Lando Calrissian going, this deal keeps getting worse and worse. Because it keeps changing. This deal keeps changing, and then Vader's like, "Yeah."
I don't know if that's a defense, because then if you're saying, "Oh, the deal's significantly changed," the FTC can go, "Oh, then we need to re-examine it then."
But they own them now. They own them now, don't they? So either way, interesting other sidebar while we're still in this Microsoft side of the news, the EMEA. marketing director for Xbox, which is the Europe, Middle East and Africa marketing director at Xbox, says the company isn't blessed with a large budget in the region, leading to PlayStation outspending them on marketing. In an interview with Marketing Weekly, Michael Flatt said that Xbox needed to work really hard against competition. That includes being quite scrappy. They're, PlayStation, blessed with marketing funds that we're not able to enjoy. But that's totally fine. We adapt to what's more fiscally responsible approach to our media investments. He continued, we're not blessed with huge media budgets, so we have to be quite scrappy, really, quite tenacious to fight for funds that will probably go somewhere else. The interview comes from the claims of Microsoft looking to stop pushing console sales in the regions, instead focusing more on Game Pass, cloud gaming, PC, and accessory sales.
I love that. That's totally fine. It's like the marketing director's like, oh yeah, Sony getting a significantly higher budget than we've got to work with, and you're expecting similar results. But that's fine.
I just think that's such a blasé statement to say when you've just dropped $76 billion on acquiring ABK. Oh, we don't have enough money. It's like, did you spend everything?
Right. If I'm reading between the lines here, Michael Flatt is pissed off with Xbox leadership. And he's probably been banging his head against the wall, sending loads of emails going, I need a bigger marketing budget. I'm struggling to achieve the whatever your targets are with the budget you've got. We need a bigger budget to achieve them. And he's finally got fed up and went, I'm going to talk publicly about this. In a way where he's trying to go, yeah, it's fine. We're adopting to, we're being a bit scrappy, we're being responsible, we're being sensible. Between the lines, it's like, are you listening, Phil? Like...
It's just so ironic, isn't it? Like, one of the richest companies in the world apparently struggles when it comes to marketing budget. But it does ring true with what we've known over the last couple of kind of launches. Remember Hellblade 2 seemingly got like next to nothing?
Yeah.
And that wasn't just in Europe, that was like across the board. And I don't know about you, but seemingly it's been and gone now. Like, one of the biggest games of the year just seemed to have been and gone. I enjoyed it, but no one's talking about it anymore. Might pick up a game award or two for art direction and sound design, but
theoretically, it should have been a game that was in the contender for Game of the Year. But I keep forgetting it existed.
Mm-hmm. You haven't played it yet, have you?
No, I intend to.
You might have if it was marketed stronger.
No, it's just I haven't been home.
Yeah, you're on holiday, I think, when it launched.
Yeah, I was on holiday when it launched, and then I was playing other games, and then I don't spend that much time near my Xbox anymore, so it's just. That's the reason. And I didn't want to play it on my phone.
Yeah, which is fair. It's not a way to experience that.
Well, that's it. So it's very much on my list of things to play.
Brilliant. Right, well, should we get away from all the Xbox jibber-jabber and talk about some actual games, Richie? This past week, on Game Pass, actually, we had the launch of Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, which is a title that I'm definitely going to be checking out on Game Pass some point this week, between retro streams and finishing Sly Cooper. Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, currently on Metacritic at a 71. It's scoring marginally better on Xbox at a 76. But looking at some of the reviews, I want to read from IGN Spain. A44 plays with a history of humanity and mythology to shape this particular world. An open scenario in which we have to accompany its fight against the gods, Legion monsters. Oh, that's a weird... I'll see if I can get the full review, because that really doesn't summarize it. Okay, it's in Spanish. How's your Spanish, Richie?
Non-existent.
All right, I'll translate for you then. Here we go. Okay. Oh, that was the verdict review. Okay. Now, in this fight against the gods, their legions of monsters, weapons, gunpowder, trenches, and magic go hand in hand in a proposal that, without being a powerful AAA game, has more than enough reasons to keep you entertained at the controls. Bit of an odd verdict review. It didn't really explain, just kind of summarise what the game has. But 7 from IGN Spain. If we look at some others, what have we got? PlayStation Universe, give it a 7.
I think context matters here. Looking at this on Steam, the prices before the current sale that's on, £35. So you're not looking at a $70 game here.
Yeah.
So I think a 7 out of 10 for that is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, 7 out of 10 from Push Square as well. I do like Push Square. As long as you can put up with some repetitive enemy designs and the story not being all that, then Flintlock is worth a punt. It comes together for a consistently good experience that never tries to break the bank to become something more. It does nothing insultingly bad, neither does it set a new benchmark for anything specific. Flintlock The Siege of Dawn is a good video game. Nothing more, nothing less. This sounds like Richie. I was playing Evil West, I think, earlier on this year. It sounds, and I mean, not visually doesn't look like that, but it sounds like that kind of like double A, pushing the boundaries of triple A type of game. But it's on Game Pass, so it's one of those where it's like, just go check it out, and by the sounds of it, it's satisfactory.
Yeah, it sounds like a very solid double A game, which in its critically, I think it is important that it is priced as a double A game. It's the digital version of PlayStation's £35. So I think like a 7 to 7.5 out of 10. I think is absolutely fine for that. Like, it seems like a good get for Game Pass. It's just like a kind of bit of a catalog builder.
Yeah, fill it up. It's got like gameplay wise, it's got like God of War vibes. Actually, weirdly enough, I was saying Evil West. It's kind of got that vibe to it, where it's a combination of like melee action with a variety of kind of like, ironically, flintlock weapons in that kind of era. So I think gunpowder style guns, blunderbusses and whatnot. But then tied together with some kind of like ethereal power. So it's got like a Forspoken vibe where you can jump around using some kind of ethereal power bursts and fighting monsters of all sorts. So yeah, this is one that if I've got the time, I'll probably quite enjoy it. Like I have done recently for why can't I remember the name? Evil West.
Yeah, if I wasn't on an Uncharted binge at the moment, I would probably consider giving this a go.
Yeah, Banish's Ghost New Eden. That's another one that gives me vibes of that. But it's out now. It's on Game Pass, so go check it out if you like to. Pivoting away to some other game news, unfortunately for some. Saber Interactive and Focus Entertainment have had to put out some fires this week as a full build of the upcoming Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 is leaked online, Richie. In a joint statement, the company said, touched by the overwhelming support they'd received, and asked fans to avoid this unfinished build and not to spoil it for the game for those who are excited to experience it. According to the development team, the build second in is almost over a year old and not representative of the complete game's quality. Our team has poured years of hard work, passion and dedication into creating a game worthy of your hopes and expectations, and it's disheartening that many of the surprises we worked to keep secret were spoiled, the team said in a shared statement. It's a bit shitty, Richie. It obviously it happens. The release is still a little while away. Actually, it's not due out until late September. So
the thing is, this is the thing. These are the sort of things that can be quite damaging for a company, which means they don't have the resources to fund the new projects, which leads to layoffs. So it's one of them things. If you want like game developers to have stable careers so they can keep working on the passion projects, take more risks of what they're doing so they're not doing everything feels incredibly samey and safe, you've got to buy your games. It sucks and games are expensive, but it's just game developers deserve to get paid. And when they get full builds of games are leaked, one, it means a lot of people who were interested in playing are probably just going to download this for free. And two, their experience is going to be spoiled because it's an old build.
Yeah, you're not getting the finished product, are you? And games really come together in the last kind of like 6 months a lot of the time. So you're doing yourself a disservice by doing them a disservice.
Yeah, and how many people do you think will be reviewing this on Metacritic, things like Metacritic, OpenCritic based on that build? Yeah,
well, we saw that, the ramifications it can have. We saw with The Last of Us Part 2. Remember when the story leaked and everyone got their knickers in a twist over the story of Uncharted, The Last of Us Part 2 without having played it, without the context, without understanding like the emotional side of it or actually playing as the characters. They just went straight into, oh, well, this happens to this character. Can't believe they've done that. Yeah. And then it was getting review bombed and stuff before it even launched. And it was like, but it's ultimately a phenomenal game, so...
Like, as a side point, talking about things like OpenCritic and Metacritic, maybe they should start requiring, whether it's like press or just general gamers who review games, to actually state the build of the game they play on. Because Yeah, if you're playing on like a version 1.0 build, like day and date, the 1.1 that comes out a week later might be significantly better for a lot of bug fixes.
Yeah. Well, this is where you almost need like verified users, don't you? If you're going to use Metacritic, like you need to verify yourself, so you're not just some asshole troll who likes to just review one.
As I mentioned, with a game being leaked a year old build, it wouldn't be a 1.0 build. So, in that case, you could if Metacritic can verify the build you played on, you don't get a posted review.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah,
something good. But either way, I think thankfully it's not quite as large of a title as The Last of Us Part 2, so hopefully this will go a little bit under the radar, maybe, where people don't read. Again, it takes a very specific type of game on PC to understand the build, how to download it, how to play it. Whereas for your average Joes like you and me, like I have to wait for console release because my brain doesn't understand how to figure out how to get a dodgy build onto a PC and the loopholes to jump through and the security protocols. And it'll probably have like the build number as watermark all over the game. And it's like you said, it's not the best way to experience. So just a bit of patience if you are tempted. Space Marine, you've waited like 13 years for it. So what's another couple of weeks? But sad to see, and hopefully won't have too much impact. Speaking of waiting a long time, Richie, we've got some hardware news from over in Japan. Nintendo officially announced, after 7 years of the Switch's life cycle, and while we wait for news on the Switch 2, we've got a new device hitting the store shelves, officially dubbed the Joy-Con Charging Stand 2-way accessory, and it'll be available from the 17th of October. That's right, the Switch that launched in 2017 and has detachable Joy-Con controllers that have their own independent batteries. It's finally getting a charging stand. 7 years too late, but it's coming later this year. Richie, this is just such a Nintendo thing. Over to you.
Yeah, there's like 1,000 of these on the market, third-party ones. And also, they put the USB port in a stupid, because it's a USB, a detachable cable, in a stupid place. They put it on the top. That's not going to look neat and tidy on anyone's TV stand. It's because the stupid cable coming out the top, put it on the bottom and have a cut through in the stand. Like, honestly, I think Nintendo are determined to get everyone to shut up about the Switch 2. So they're doing anything they can to tell people we're still supporting the Switch.
Yeah.
And a little accessory is probably an easy fix for them. I just don't know who this is for, to be honest, at this point. At this point in the time, if you needed a charging stand for your Switch, you probably already have one.
Yeah.
And you could probably get something as good for significantly cheaper.
I mean,
I don't know what the price is in this.
For those,
it's going to be more than a third-party one.
Yeah, for those who don't know, who maybe don't have a Switch, is the Joy-Cons do automatically recharge when they're attached to the console. So if your console is docked, but you want to still play it and you don't have like a Pro controller, you would traditionally like slide the Joy-Cons off. Did they come with an attachment, like the little frame that they clip into?
Yeah,
that came
with
the
Joy-Con grip.
Yeah, Joy-Con grip.
So you can detach them and turn it into a more traditional style controller. I actually do use my Joy-Con grip occasionally.
Yeah, that's how I sometimes play as well. Although you can't play for very long with it because of the form factor is obviously it's utilized rather than aesthetically designed for hands.
It depends on the game.
Yeah.
But you're better off with a Pro controller in every situation, unless you're using the N64 games and you're better off with the N64 controller.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just don't see much need for this because it really, as you mentioned, you can charge Joy-Cons on the device itself, which means that this would only be for people.
Multiple Joy-Cons, I guess. Well, Richie's... Oh, sorry, you froze briefly for a second there.
All right, you froze on my end, so I'm not sure what happened. What was the last thing you heard me say?
You're going to buy 5 of these?
I'm going to buy 5 of them, yeah. I don't know, it just seems weird, because it's only really for someone who has a second set of Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
Who doesn't already have a solution for charging them.
Yeah, I mean, if you've waited 7 years and then saw this and thought, oh my word, I've been waiting for this for so long. Thank you, Nintendo, my prayers have been answered then.
I think because it is so long, it's not like a year or two. If you were even our first party like accessory purist, you've probably already caved and bought a third party solution by this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if it sells, it sells. I'm probably wrong. They'll sell millions of them. I just don't see the point.
bundle, pack-ins, whatever that looks like. But either way, from hardware, let's pivot back to some game news, Richie. Orcs Must Die 3 is a game we play on the channel. Robot Entertainment, of course. Orcs Must Die 3 was actually a Google Stadia timed exclusive. We played it many times, thoroughly enjoyed it. We actually went back quite recently. I don't know why we did it. I think it dropped on Game Pass. And we thought, well, that's for old time's sake. And you know what? We had a great time. Once again, it is a fun game to be played in co-op. Orcs Must Die! Deathtrap is the new game just announced by Robot Entertainment. It's going to bring a 4-player co-op as well as roguelike progression system with new heroes, unique abilities as you beat waves of enemies while coping with randomized buffs and debuffs, choosing from 6 different war mages. It's set for release in 2025 across PC, Steam, Xbox, and no doubt PS5. But I wanted to kind of throw it over to you, Richie. We've said many times on the stream this game would really benefit from more players because we have fun with 2. But we've always said it would be great if we could get the audience involved or just more people in general because the game lends itself to the more people involved, the more fun you could have, essentially. You can have more entrances for them to attack from. You've got more defense turrets to go up. You can have wider maps. And it would just amp up the fun. And that was the kind of promise with Stadia, wasn't it? That they said you could have thousands of enemies using the power of the cloud on screen. You can never do that before. Well, here we are. 4 players, more enemies. Orcs Must Die. Back again.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. With 3, I think the only reason they probably couldn't bring in 4-player is because of probably the map design. That didn't really lend itself. It would probably... I wouldn't be surprised if they did do some trials internally and found it just unbalanced the game a lot. And probably with the design of the maps meant that they couldn't rebalance it to keep it fun and challenging enough. So building it from the ground up with the next iteration to accommodate up to 4 players, I think is a good move. And this is one I really hope comes to Game Pass. Like day and day. There's no comment on PlayStation though, which actually makes me more curious if it is more likely to come to Game Pass.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's going on the Epic Game Store, which is PlayStation own a chunk of. We know they're only a small studio.
Sony own a chunk of.
Yeah.
And the more I do these podcasts, the more I realise you have to think of Sony and PlayStation as basically separate companies.
Yeah.
Because while Sony own PlayStation, they're completely different. Visual and Luna is a perfect example. Yeah. Amazon Games and Luna are completely separate entities. And don't even act like the other exists at times.
Yeah. I've heard they've got a bigger marketing budget as well.
Yeah.
Because the different entities. Orcs Must Die, Deathtrap. It looks like more Orcs Must Die. Quite frankly, it could be a platform, in my opinion. Just Orcs Must Die, the platform, and just add new maps, add new enemies, add new weapon types. But seemingly a new...
Dropping the number?
Yeah, Orcs Must Die 4. Yeah, something to be said there. Speaking of numbers, Rainbow Six is a number. Or 6s anyway. Rainbow Six Mobile and The Division Resurgence have been delayed by Ubisoft. So in the financial earnings report, they actually report a solid start to the current financial year. That's probably off the back of The Lost Crown doing so well and all the hype building up for Star Wars Outlaws and no doubt Shadows. Assassin's Creed Shadows, that is, coming later on this year. So this fiscal year, I think we've pretty much said for the last half a year now that I think this is Ubisoft's big make or break year. And they've got pretty much everything in the tank. They've got one of the biggest franchise IPs in their pocket. They've got their own biggest IP in the bank to go this year. And the surprise success of, I think, Prince of Persia is setting them up to a good standing at the beginning of the year. Sea of Thieves, sorry. I can't remember the name.
Skull and
Bones is out now. So that anchor that was weighing them down, it's done and gone. So we no longer have to joke about that.
Yeah, and I think it's doing a little bit better than we thought it would because I think it's one of them might have found a bit of a community.
Maybe.
Well, I just assumed it was completely dead on arrival.
Yeah. But
especially after I played and found it boring.
Yeah, but they're doing so well, I've thought, actually, we don't need to put out these mobile games just yet. For those who don't know, Rainbow Six Mobile and The Division, they're basically like representatives of their console counterparts, just on a mobile form. 5v5 FPS competitive and then third person open world RPG. That means they're going to be coming out after 31st of March 2025. The Rainbow Six one hasn't been on my radar at all, but the Division one I think I've got pre-ordered through the Google Play Store. Same with Assassin's Creed Jade. But just because I think at the time I was thinking, I could play it with my Backbone controller, which I don't have now because I sold it when I got the Portal. But in terms of Rainbow Six on mobile, I think it's probably one that would just do quite well. It would quietly just do really well numbers because Rainbow Six does well. And similar to Call of Duty Mobile, just getting it on in more hands and more screens where there's millions upon millions of mobile users out there. It's a good foot in the door, I think, for Ubisoft. So delay it again if it's not ready. You only get one.
I'm not convinced even they'll do well. I think the target audience for both of these games is actually a lot older. Especially Siege. I can't see many people who are interested in Rainbow Six Siege wanting to play a game of that style on a phone. I just don't really. I think this is Ubisoft probably rolling the dice a bit with two big franchises onto a platform where I think the core audience for mobile gaming is either hyper casual gamers, which these are not, or a younger audience, which these games I don't think strongly appeal to. Can you see many kids who play doing Fortnite dances in the playground, switching over it? Something as difficult and as tactical as Rainbow Six Siege?
No, not really. But at the same time, I think they're big enough to kind of just pull an audience in, and I think they'll be marketed as such. And I think that's potentially us just being out of the loop of mobile gamers. I mean, if this is number one at the storefront and your mates remember playing on console.
Maybe.
I mean, if Ubisoft are going to put mobile games out,
I'm wrong.
They're attaching the decent IP to it, aren't they? We've got Assassin's Creed Mobile coming out.
You mentioned Assassin's Creed Jade. That's just a game where I thought, can you just not do a console port of that game? By all means, bring out mobile. But can you do a console port, please?
They might do. It's an interesting world with mobile. We've got some stories coming up after this one to talk about with it. But in the light of Division Heartland being cancelled. All I suspect
probably need to get something out.
Yeah, all I suspect is that the mobile versions are obviously ran on probably quite a lower budget. Usually the cinematics and the trailers don't quite compare across to actual gameplay. There's usually a good step down in performance.
It'll be a stripped back thing, won't it?
Yeah, but then on the flip side, again, phones can do so much more now. And the audience is out there. I think I was listening to a PlayStation podcast this past week talking about what's the new Honkai Star Rail Genshin Impact title that just got released. We won't know it off the top of our heads. There was a new one.
It's a Hoyoverse game.
Yeah, whatever the Hoyoverse game was. Apparently, within the first week, that's hit 20 million players. So it's hit more. Like I think God of War on PlayStation's only 15. So it's surpassed the best-selling PlayStation games of all time in a week for players, and that's because it's just this weird. The marketplace for mobile is so much bigger than console.
But I think the presentation of them games are completely different to something like Rainbow Six or Division.
I mean, a lot of them are like Deathtrap games as well.
Yeah, that's my thing with these two games in particular, is the presentation of these are a bit more serious, I think, in terms of how the games are presented.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest, these feel more like PC games than console, especially Rainbow Six Siege. It does feel like that it's leaning towards PC rather than mobile. So that's why I'm not convinced that either of these games will do well.
Oh shit, I was wrong actually. Hoyoverse's latest title, it was Zenless Zone Zero, surpassed 50 million downloads in less than a week. It only launched on July the 4th. It's only July the 19th.
And you have to remember, they've now got a legacy thing. They've had two massive smash hits on a mobile platform.
What are these games? What do you actually do in them? 50 million people are playing these.
I think, isn't like Genshin like an action RPG? And then you get new skins, new characters and stuff. I don't know. I've never played this.
Maybe. But the reason Ubisoft and stuff are going after these, Richie, is if you look at the analytics for these Hoyoverse and the other kind of, they're called gacha games, gacha titles.
Yeah.
Gacha, it's like Genshin Impact's one of them, right? Especially in other markets like China, The outlet reports Honkai Star Rail grossed $55 million in China alone, and then a further $36 million globally in May. That increased in June to $60.5 million. Genshin Impact did $30 million in China, $23 million globally in May. And then Zenless Zone Zero is apparently, if that's just hit 50 million, that's likely going to top the charts for July when the month's all said and done. And I think if you're Ubisoft, even if you can get 40%, 30% of that kind of hype, not that it probably will, but
I think it'd be single figures.
But you can see the
comparison.
You can see the cost to budget analysis. It's worth a pop.
The thing is, it is worth a pop. I don't think these are the right franchises though, because you look at them franchises and they.
And we've temporarily lost.
Yeah, designed these. I'm still here. I can still hear you.
Yeah, it's recording on my end though, so the viewers will just take my side with this regardless. Unfortunately, I believe you, but unfortunately,
I think it's just HoYoverse ones is just designed from the ground up for that market, where I don't think Division and like Rainbow Six are.
Well, we've got some proof to back that up this week, Richie, because our follow-up story is that Resident Evil 7 has reportedly flopped on iOS across Apple iPhone devices with sales under 2,000. This is a AAA game that was ported and promoted as now able to run on the latest iPhone Pro. According to the data from AppMagic, shared via mobilegamer.biz, the free-to-start game, bear in mind it's free to start, but then you have to purchase it, has been downloaded 83,000 times since its release, meaning that just 2.4% of players actually converted to the £15.99 paid version, which means at an estimated cost, it's raked in for Capcom, Richie, 28 grand. And that doesn't count Apple's 30% cut.
Though. But how many of them 83,000 people have switched over to buying the console version?
True. I mean, how much is Resident Evil 7 going for on console right now?
If you played an hour or two on iOS and go, you know what, I'm really liking this game. Do I keep playing it on a phone, or do I go and play it on my PlayStation or Xbox I've got at home? Even if it was 20 quid. So, I mean, I don't think it'd be anywhere. I don't think it'd be like 80,000 people switched over. But I bet you it's more than 2,000.
I mean, to paint a wider picture, Assassin's Creed Mirage launched on the 6th of June. That's under 3,000 people. But that's sat at a hefty $44.99. I would never in a million years pay that much for a mobile game. Like, there's something inherently bad about making a purchase on your phone. I think, you know, we talk about like digital purchase and feel like you keep them and you don't keep them, and cloud gaming and subscription models. Yeah. The mobile has such a stinky vibe to it that me hitting buy now for £44.99 for something on my phone, I don't think it just feels, I couldn't justify it. It just feels different.
There's actual like studies on this, like, because you've been conditioned so much to have free apps on your phone, or maybe apps being £1 up to £5.
Yeah.
Soon as you're getting any sort of like
beyond a tenner, right?
Yeah, beyond the tenner, it really, because you're so conditioned for apps on your phone to be such a low cost, you start really questioning it. However, at £40 on a console, we were talking about Flintlock earlier, and I went, 35 quid for a 7 out of 10. That feels good. That feels like good value.
Yeah.
Same game on a phone, you go, ooh, maybe not. It's the same game.
Maybe not.
The product could be exactly the same. It could perform exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference would be the hardware you're playing on, but the price, the value proposition feels completely different because of what you're conditioned to paying.
Yeah, and we know these iOS games are coming kind of under a bit of scrutiny right now with the way they're actually ported across and the way they're optimized for mobile. And there's always going to be lesser ones. We've seen it with the Switch games, right? Is they are just inferior. So take a game that's running on a console the size of a PC tower and expect it to run similar in the palm of your hand on a flat piece of phone. It ain't going to work. The fact it plays at all is quite miraculous. Like, if you told Child Chris and Child Richie, like, look at this, you'd blow our minds. But like you said, for the price, I ain't paying that.
I'm no lover of Apple at all, but the quality of the hardware they're producing with the M1 chips especially are phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no denying the technology they have at the moment. And the fact that a phone can play Resident Evil 7
and Village
to a decent standard, and Village to a decent standard, is incredibly impressive.
Mm-hmm.
It's the wrong game for that form factor.
Yeah. It goes back to your audiences, doesn't it? And just like what they're looking for in a video game. And for me, Resident Evil is the epitome of it is VR, where it'll scare the shit and pants off you. And then you've got the console is the ultimate best way. And then, mobile is kind of right down there at the bottom.
Console stroke PC has got the right, I think, balance. On the phone, starts feeling a bit more casual. And when a game is quite intense, like Resident Evil, it's a lot about the presentation. You're losing a lot on the phone. You're losing a lot of immersion when you play a game on your phone.
Yeah. If we look at some more Resident Evil comparisons, then Resident Evil 4 brought in 7,000 people, and Village has only brought in 5,750. Both came out last year. So between Resident Evil and Assassin's Creed, do you think this is maybe it for now? Like, I think Apple have probably forked out a big chunk of cash to get these across. You know, like Stadia did. Like, you want us on your platform.
Yeah.
We'll do it. We'll do the port, but you have to front the cash for it because we don't know if it's viable or not. And obviously, Apple have a lot more pull probably than Google did in the games front because they have their own app store, for God's sakes, and they have Apple Arcade subscription, so they already do a lot in that space. But I think this could put a stall on.
I would say absolutely yes for like immersive gaming, single player gaming experiences. However, it depends what the porting
process is, says Richie as his Discord
process
once
to the
again.
max is like. If it is effectively the same, if it's effectively the same work to get it on Macs and phones, you might as well stick them on phones anyway, even if the sales are crap.
Yeah. It's all about the cost, isn't it? Implications, but I'm surprised that
over there.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're that low. Like, I mean,
me too. We
know 7 is an old game by all things said and done, but 7,000 out of however many million iPhones are out there. It's a bit of a surprise, especially like if you're playing on an iPad. I guess that's probably not as bad as experience. Like some of the iPads are like 15 inches wide now, so it's practically a TV. But either way, we'll see what Apple keep doing as we move on to our final stories of the week.
That might shift in time as well.
It might.
Because you have to remember these games are 18, so maybe it's a case of a younger audience who are gaming predominantly on the phone and maybe just slightly too young, but they're building up a library for when they get older.
Oh, do you want to port your Apple library across? That's how it could work. Moving on though, Richie. EA FC 25. I know we said we weren't going to talk about football, but there has been a reveal trailer for EA Sports FC 25, the second entry in the FC series. Obviously, once FIFA's name reverted back to FIFA. Coming out later on this year, we've got the 27th of September confirmed for the launch date. But if you buy the game, the Ultimate Edition early, you get it up to a week early. I think EA Play also get it up to a week early. They get that on the 20th. So, depending on how much you want to fork out for this title, we get to see everyone in Ultra HD. They've obviously added a couple of features that are going to come with it. We'll probably speak more next week when they actually drop the details. But so far, all we know is Jude Bellingham is the cover star here in the UK. And Richie, where are you sitting in your EA vibes? I think I actually dropped on the podcast a couple of weeks. I was surprised to realise I'd played 130 hours of FC 24. But I'm almost also in this weird place now. Now I've got an FC game. I don't think I need 25 anytime soon. I might be one of them, like, I'll take a generational gap and maybe pick up the one after.
Well, I did take a generational gap for 24. And then I've played quite a bit of it since it came to PlayStation Plus, I think.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Is that PlayStation Plus or Game Pass? I can't remember which one console I'm
PS
playing
Plus,
on.
I think, yeah. I might be both, actually, because EA Play games go in Game Pass after a year.
I genuinely can't remember which console I'm playing on. I think I might be playing it on Xbox.
The blurred
lines. It doesn't matter for the comment. I think I'm happy to wait. To be honest, I actually do think I'm happy to wait for it to drop on Game Pass or PlayStation Plus next year, because I've had a good few months out of it, and I didn't pay anything. So I'm with the end of this year being quite stacked. I think I'd rather save my money for other stuff.
Yeah, I say that, and then I'm always brought in by whatever the football vibe is. So if say Newcastle have a great start of the season and I'm kind of in a high over sports. I'll probably like go, you know what? It's just launched because it comes out in September, so we're probably 6-7 weeks into the season by then, maybe. Flying high, might just be like if there's nothing else. Although to be fair, there's so many games coming out, it might pit me. But Jude Bellingham, cover star again. Is there anything this guy can't do? Although he had a pretty shit Euros.
You know what? He's a good pick because if you think about it, because he can be the cover star for both England and Spain quite easily.
That's a good point.
Potentially even Germany, because he's only 1 year removed from Dortmund. So it's probably good marketing for a year, because he's got that multiple like nation representation.
Yeah, and he's got let's face it, his marketing behind him is terrific. Whoever's like doing this stuff, he's on so many. I think he was on like the Google adverts during the Euros. He's like Ballon d'Or nominated, we suspect. But all things said and done, at 21 years old is he to be on the front cover of FIFA already? If
he played well in England, won the Euros, I think he would almost certainly have won the Ballon d'Or.
I think so as well. But
because Ballon d'Or is not necessarily about how good you are, it's a lot about
who likes you, isn't it? And he's kind of got that. Yeah. So even after a poor Euros, I wouldn't be surprised.
He'd be nominated, he'd do well, but he won't win it.
We'll see. But anyway, moving on to our final two stories of the week. Halo, Richie, it's been cancelled. The whole franchise. Halo Infinite shut down. Master Chief Collection removed from storefronts. Of course, I jest. No, the Paramount
Even Bungie
Plus,
got wound up, and they've got nothing to do with it
anymore. Anything closely linked to it. Beyonce's song Halo removed from Spotify.
Yeah.
No, all things said and done. Halo, the Paramount Plus TV series, season 2, of course, just dropped earlier on this year. Not renewed after 2 seasons, which is an interesting one. I'll quote from the article I'm reading from Hollywood Reporter. We're extremely proud of the ambitious series and would like to thank our partners at Xbox 343 Industries and Amblin Television, along with the showrunner and executive producer David Weiner, his fellow executive producer, the entire cast that led with Pablo Schreiber as Master Chief, and all the crew for their outstanding work. Paramount Plus said in a statement, "We wish everyone the best going forward." It's an interesting one. People have been talking about it in our Discord server about this. Seemingly, if you're a huge Halo fan, you did not like this series. If, like myself, who's only played Halo 1 and 2 and dabbled here and there, and people who've maybe only played a couple, or just enjoyed it for a sci-fi show, they quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed Season 1. I enjoyed Season 2 even more. I thought it actually improved quite a lot. I was looking forward to a Season 3. And yet, it's seemingly not going to get one. However, with streaming services, there is always that chance it gets picked up by another one. We've seen it happen with a few jump around to different... So it's maybe not quite as dead as it sounds in these articles. But it's a bit of a surprise for me because these streaming services, Paramount Plus in particular, they need content to keep them going. So actually, this... Because it's got 2 fan bases, it's got the gamer fan base and then new viewers, I almost feel like it should have a bit more protection, because even if Season 2 and 1 didn't do that well, I think doing a Season 3 and dropping a trailer with a couple more sneaky Easter eggs from the game, that could bring a lot more people back in who would have otherwise left. So it's a bit of a risk, because then Paramount Plus have to replace this cycle with something else. And I feel like Halo, it's a known enough quantity to at least give it another go. And they did say when they announced it, Richie, they have the lineup for 5 to 7 seasons of story. So the fact that they're throwing in the towel after 2 is a bit of a piss poo. It's like a Google move, that.
It's a cutthroat industry, though, and one of the things I want to pick up on that you mentioned is fans of Halo, the games, didn't enjoy it. So if it's got that kind of polarizing effect on your audience, where hardcore fans of the game don't enjoy it, so it's just casual fans who do. If the numbers aren't strong enough, they might have went, you know what, we'll give you a second season to turn it around. And if they haven't seen enough shift in the numbers, they might have went, and I'm guessing it might be quite expensive to produce as well.
There's a lot of animation required. He did spend a lot of Season 2 out of the suit, which I know pissed off a lot of people, because it's like, I'm there to see Master Chief, not just a dude.
Yeah.
Which I get.
That might be it. It's like, if that hasn't been received well enough, and it's expensive to produce, and hasn't made enough profit, it might just be a case of, let's cut our losses rather than rolling the dice for a third time on it, which it's a shame. I hope they land on the feet, and I think they are meant to be looking for a new home. So if you have a streaming service that you want Halo for,
yeah. I mean, where could it end? Again, it's interesting because I think Halo's probably better than half the sci-fi shit I've just watched on Netflix the last couple of years. Like, Netflix has literally got Strange Things for me. So, and Friends. So it's like, whereas if Halo's, like, I have Paramount Plus for probably another half a year, but currently I'm using Paramount Plus for South Park and Cheers.
Yep.
But it's an interesting one. Again, a couple of these streaming services will probably die, but hopefully Halo finds a new home and we get to see out. Because David Weiner, who took over, he didn't do season 1, so the one that everyone hated was 2 other guys. He took over, shepherded season 2, improved it from a lot of people's opinions, but then I feel like if he had another run at another season, he could probably steer the ship into a better direction. But like you said, cutthroat industry.
Costs. We know how the tech industry is cutting costs left, right, and centre, so maybe the TV industry is as well. Yeah. It might just be we have to cut costs. It wasn't profitable enough. Unfortunately, this is the one to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But moving on from Halo to some other Xbox news to round out this week's show, and that is we got a cheeky controller, Richie, from Deadpool and Xbox coming out. This is part of a promotion. You can win it. The Xbox team have launched a Deadpool-inspired controller in the build-up to Deadpool and Wolverine coming out next week. Of course, I did say we'll be doing a stream of it here on the channel, if all things line up correctly, of the PS3 game. You have to enter a quiz, you have to retweet, do stuff, but it's basically a Deadpool-inspired controller with the texture of his suit, black leather, red leather, but more importantly enough, this controller has a big ass, Richie.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean a literal ass. On the back of the controller where the traditional battery pack is, there's some juicy ass cheeks, Deadpool style. I mean, I don't even know where to start. We always kind of end our shows with crazy accessories. Xbox have done fridges, they've done toasters, they've done mittens. Was it a jacket for your controller, like a little hoodie? I never thought, if you told me there's an Xbox controller that has an ass, like an actual ass where the battery pack should be. But my main question is, where do you put the batteries? Do they just go right up Main Street? Is that you just like jam them in there and hope they get in?
You just have to slot them in through the hole.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's marketing. It's. I think it's brilliant marketing, to be honest.
Because that's Deadpool through and through, right?
Yeah, like it looks actually uncomfortable, the hole, because the arse looks like it gets in the way of your fingers.
I mean, so if you think it's squishy, you'll be what?
I wonder. Now, here's a big question. Is it like proportioned to the same proportion as Ryan Reynolds' arse?
Did they actually...
Obviously, down to scale, of course, but... Yeah. Are you going to be fingering Ryan Reynolds while you're playing games? That's the big question right there.
Wow. That is definitely a question I did not think I'd be asking myself at the start of this podcast. Yeah, you basically have to follow and repost with hashtag Xbox Cheeky Controller Sweepstakes for a chance to win a custom Xbox Series X console and 2 cheeky controllers designed by Deadpool. Of course, they were designed by him. The controllers do look cool. I do like the red aesthetic. I don't think they would be that comfortable, but who knows? No. There's a lot of people on the internet crying out for this to be a purchasable thing, and there's a lot of people pissed off that it's just a sweepstakes. It's not an actual option to buy, and it's that quirky enough. I generally think people would probably buy this in their droves.
Yeah, probably. I think, to be honest, it's probably smart that it is limited, because that makes people want it more. I think if it was just mass market, it wouldn't sell that many, to be honest. The fact that it's limited means more people want it.
I mean, it's been retweeted 250,000 times.
Yeah.
At the time of recording, so I've done it.
It's not about selling the controller, it's about selling the movie.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? And it's going to be the best-selling movie of the year, hands down. But yeah, my take on it, Richie, is this controller looks ass.
It does.
Looks absolute ass. But rounding out the show, as we always do here on GamerGuild TV, is by looking back through the yesteryear days of video games and seeing what released on this day in video game history. We record on a Friday on July 19th this week. Seems to be general kids at the moment. Fridays get out of the way before the weekend. So apologies if we missed any news last weekend or over the week, although it is quite quiet, so we tend to just wing it.
Yeah.
Richie, July 19th, back in the year. Anything stand out for yourself?
Yes, there is. There's a couple of things, actually. Let's start with Final Fantasy X on a PlayStation 2 23 years ago. I feel old. Chris, I feel old.
Old. Final Fantasy. Damn.
I love Final Fantasy X. It's awesome.
Final Fantasy 9 on the Super Nintendo as well. 33 years ago. That's 4. Wow, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I've never played that one. That's why I went to 10. But 10, I think, has got one of the best 10-based battle systems I've ever played. To this day. 23 years later.
23 years later. 2 years ago, we got Stray.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well.
We both really like Stray. Some great streams up on the channel for that one. July 20th, skipping a day ahead. Mario Bros.
It's worth mentioning Super Mario Sunshine as well, actually, on the 19th. Didn't we talk about Mario Bros. Last week?
Yeah, it must have been a different version, because this is the arcade version.
I'm sure it was arcade, but it might be a different region.
Yeah, I thought it was as well.
We're talking 41 years ago, so it's probably like...
Can't really remember it that well. Anything else? Limbo came out 14 years ago on the Xbox 360. Shout out to Limbo. Shout out to Inside.
Bastion, that was decent on the 360.
Oh, here's one for you, Richie. July 21st, Fortnite launched on the PS4 and Xbox One. I'd be interested to go back and understand Fortnite, how much of it, like before it took off, because obviously when you're in there in the middle of the maelstrom, you can't really see how well it's doing. But I'd love to know the trajectory of when Fortnite came out, because nobody gave a shit when it was just save the world mode from zombies and you built a wall to keep zombies out. It was just like, it's just another cartoony looking game. And then when they copied off PUBG and put the Battle Royale mode in, that's when it took off. So I'm wondering, from launch 7 years ago on this date to actually what point did it surpass PUBG and then become this like phenomenon that it is today?
Imagine going back to 2017 and going...
buying shares.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I'd sell my house, put all on Fortnite. Like going back and going, you know what? This game that was received very mediocre on launch, and going, imagine telling somebody, oh, yeah, see this game, it probably came out as like a 7 out of 10 or something. Mm-hmm. Like no one's that bothered. It's like, this is going to be the biggest game in the world, and it's going to maintain that status for years.
Yeah, I would be shares. I would be streaming it daily. I would be buying up every domain name that includes the word Fortnite, spelt in that particular way. Because remember, Americans before Fortnite the game didn't use the word Fortnite. They just said 2 weeks. It's only us Brits that use Fortnite as a term.
It's true.
Bi-weekly, do they say? I think is another one.
Bi-weekly. Bi-weekly, I always think is because we have the word Fortnite. When I say bi-weekly, I think of twice a week.
Yeah. But Fortnite. So we introduced them to a new word and a new game all at the same time. Video games, folks. Video games. But that has been it.
If only they could spell it correctly.
If only. That has been it for the GamerGuild Podcast this week. So episode number 49. We're actually creeping up on our year anniversary, Richie. This game. Don't know if we'll do anything special. We'll figure it out. It's actually episode 49 of this podcast, but it's episode 420 of our overall podcasting legacy.
Sounds a Stadia episode 1.
Yeah, geez. As of course, coming up in 5 years, we should mention those who've listened to the end of the show. We did put a vote out in the Discord and to members on YouTube for our location for our 5-year GamerGuild celebration, meet and greet, drinks and beers and whatnot. Seems to be Manchester, is the current kind of where the voting has gone. So we'll focus in on that and get that locked in. I know people probably need to start traveling hotels, but thank you to everyone who did vote in it. Probably should have mentioned this at the beginning of the show. We'll try and make a point of mentioning it at the beginning of next week's show to keep you on the loop. We're not events organisers, so apologies for the clunky way in which we're doing it. But we'll get something started and we'll lock it in. So 28th of September this year. Free your calendars, folks. Come and have a beer with us in person, a bunch of other lovely people. Maybe some special guests as well, who you might know already from the 420 prior episodes that we've done on this very show.
We've got Taylor Swift.
Yes, confirmed. Taylor Swift and Waluigi showed up. And Ryan Reynolds' ass. But that's been it for this week's show. Don't forget to check out the live stream, Space Marine. If you want to become a member from as little as 99p, you can click join down below. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been GamerGuild TV for the GamerGuild Podcast. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. And remember, folks, play whatever makes you the happiest. Have a great week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.